important skill which recruiters need, which is a skill which AI cannot kill.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That skill is all about being human. So recruiters are not equipped with the skill of data mining. So what I do is my own research work where I break down one role into multiple buckets. Right now in the near future, what I see is IQ can easily replicate it. If we reach a level where EQ can be, maybe, but I think the first level is IQ. And say I need 50%. Why? Because my friend got it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have so and so skills. I'm a social media recruiter. No one is bothered about KRAs. They're bothered about your KPIs.
Yes.
What KPIs do you bring on the table? What have you done in your previous organization? If you want to grow in your career, probably date the company, love the role.
Hello everyone, welcome to my show Beyond HR Borders with DG. It's me, Divya Gunashekhar. We want to talk about a lot of leadership stories, which is going to be a story of transformation. And today we have Ashfaq, who's a geek of recruitment industry, and he knows so much of information with happening latest trends into recruitment industry. Let's delve into this discussion and see what are the insightful messages we have from Ashfaq for us, for today's recruiters with AI as a topic with recruitment. Let's get into the show. Hey Ashfaq.
Having me as part of this podcast. It's pleasure to be here. Okay, just to give you a quick background, I know that you have for about 5-6 years. We have worked with the projects. I've been in the recruiting industry for the last 12 years, out of which I started my career as a recruiter, and I've been training recruiters for about 10 plus 11 years now. And I've trained 10,000 recruiters. So that's my bread and butter, recruiters. And of late, I've also been building some tech tools and tech products for any recruitment, sourcing, a bunch of that's a quick background.
Right, great. So you might have produced this recruiting machines for organizations, right? So you train recruiters. So of late, recently in the industry, we have this AI buzz happening, and we hear about AI. So what is this all about?
Firstly, you mentioned I trained recruiting machine. So my LinkedIn tagline itself says I train recruiters and HR tech machines.
Okay.
Right. So basically, I train both. I started my journey with training recruiters, and then I saw a scope of training machines that is similar to what I trained, right? And that's what led to the journey of training machine. And to answer the next part of your question around the AI buzz. So some people think this is just another buzz out there because I can be seen a similar AI buzz a few years back. And people think that a similar buzz we have now, not much is going to impact you. I disagree to it because technically if you see the advancement which has happened over a period of time, that is like kind of mind-blowing. And this is not just a buzz, but this is going to create some crazy impact. If I have to say why, because the reasons like there are some heavy processes which has been found by NVIDIA, which is the main core brain, I would say, to these generative AI or whatever we see right now, because you need large amount of processes to process that much of information. Right. So today a machine can think like how Divya thinks.
Right.
Divya is an SME in a certain subject. Right. Ashfaq is an SME in a certain subject.
Right.
Can you plug Divya's brain to an engine?
Right.
To a large extent, you could do it.
Right.
How? Let's say, for example, Divya is good with HR policies.
Right.
Divya can document all her thought process around HR policies.
Right.
And put it in a document.
Right.
And you train that to a LLM model.
Got it.
Previously, this was not happening because you need large processes to process this, right? And the capabilities were not much. Now, with the advancement around the machine learning itself, right? Like the self-supervised machine learning, with the processes coming in, all this can happen at such a scale that you can mimic the brains of an SME like Divya or a brains of anyone else out there in the market. That's why, in a way, it is kind of good, in a way it is scary as well.
Got it. Yeah, we had this thought, like, never that technology can replace the thoughts of a human. Human touch cannot be given. That emotional touch could not be something that we could have think about. But now, I think by the statement that you said, thought process can also be taught to machines, is what you're telling. Artificial intelligence and how I need to think and ideate can also, based on my past thought process or exercises, you tell that AI can be taught like that.
See, right now in the near future, what I see is IQ can easily be replicated, right? If we reach a level where EQ can be, maybe, but I think the first level is IQ.
IQ.
Right? That can be done very easily. So when I gave you an example of Divya being an SME in, let's say, HR policies, or Ashfaq being an SME in sourcing, so that is intelligence.
Intelligence.
Right? I did not touch base on the empathy or the EQ or the emotional side at all.
Okay.
I spoke about the hard skills or the logical skills of Ashfaq, hard skills of Divya, or anyone else out there.
Okay.
So at the first step, I see that being automated or that being replicated as a super AI or a replica of your brain or my brain or anyone's brain in a fairly easier manner today, right? If that happens, that itself is a pretty big achievement in the technology space.
Got it.
Which is a good one, and also, as I said, it's a little scary one.
Scary one. True. Great to have that clarity between the IQ and EQ replication in AI. So what are the use cases of AI in TA?
Okay. To understand the different use cases, right, we need to just break down TA into different modules, right? How does TA go about? One, it starts with requirement gathering.
Yes.
Right, which is understanding your job descriptions, right?
Yes.
And then comes your sourcing,
right?
And then your screening resumes,
yes,
engaging with candidates,
right?
And there's a lot of miscellaneous activities, follow-ups, and all that.
Correct.
And then there is interviewing,
yes,
offer onboarding.
Yes.
So this is the entire journey,
yes,
right? And if you look at most of this journey, this journey has pieces which is mostly IQ driven, right?
Okay.
Mostly process driven,
yes,
right?
Right.
And then there is some bit of EQ.
Okay. Yes. True.
Right.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
In reality.
So what is IQ? IQ is areas where understanding a JD, right? A role decoding, understanding technical jargons, right? Which unfortunately today majority of recruiters struggle with.
Because it's too many technology jargons and combinations, doable, not doable.
Exactly.
Right.
So now an AI can do a lot better.
Right.
In comparison to a recruiter.
Right.
And today you can train LLM models. It is called as LLM for a reason. Large language models.
Okay.
Right. So that means you can train models for each use case. Like, let's say you pick tech, right? Tech hiring. That can be one use case. Within that, you can go into software development use case.
Okay.
Within that, you can go and say, I'm going to discuss only about Java development. Sourcing, I think to an extent it can do. There are a lot of gray areas as well in terms of the sourcing, which I'll discuss once we complete to this. I think we'll talk about sourcing a little more in detail because that's my favorite subject as well, and that's where I spend a lot of time doing research, right? So sourcing, yes, we can automate a lot of things in sourcing because again, it's an IQ, right? And then comes talking to the candidate.
Right.
Now, this is a tricky part.
Right.
Okay. You must have, I'm not sure, have you seen some videos of BPO calls and others being automated, some videos going around on LinkedIn?
Yes. These days we see a lot of it. Yeah.
Right. So there are people who are trying to make machines which can mimic the way you talk.
Correct.
But again, I'm not sure how well that would go in terms of the adoption because there's a lot of EQ to it, right? Can it do a very engaging freestyle conversation as of now? I'm not sure.
Correct.
Right? Maybe it could do it down the line, but as of now, I'm not sure. But IQ, right, spot on, it can do it. In next 3 to 5 years, there can be a lot of adoption around the IQ piece.
Okay.
Right? So that's the engagement bit. Next comes the miscellaneous pieces
activities of your recruitment cycle.
The entire interview scheduling and
all.
That obviously machine can do it because there's no rocket science to it.
Yeah.
The simple operations.
Yeah.
And then comes your offer rollouts, right? Let's say just like a GPT, you go, hey, rollout offer to Ashfaq, CTC should be so and so, right? This is the joining date. There is in the background, there's a offer document of horizontal, for example, right? And you need not edit it. You've just given that information. It's going to edit it and send it, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, onboarding.
Yeah.
When you onboard, what do you need? When someone comes in, you need to give them the policies and other things.
Yeah.
You can give them a horizontal chatbot. Is there, and wherever there's miscellaneous processes or operations, I see a lot of impact happening in day right there.
Great. So that calls out for so much of time saving, and also like mass data can be or mass actions can be done at a time, rather like one-to-one. So like you just kind of send mails to huge number of people, and it's like so much of time consuming plus better experience than the current one. Like definitely there'll be accuracy also and better experience also.
True.
We'll talk more about it. You being a sourcing expert, now that we're talking about AI into the TA, you think sourcing will die at some point of time? Human sourcing activity or action item in the recruitment life cycle, would it be kind of dissolved because of AI?
I feel yes. I strongly feel sourcing can be automated, and as a skill that would die. And when I say that, I have some certain strong reasonings behind it. Okay? When I say sourcing would die, what do I mean by it is, I again break it down into simpler modules, right? When I say sourcing will die, I don't say 100% is going to die. But a good majority, yes, it would die. So let's understand, where does the good majority of sourcing happens today? It happens on job boards. It happens on LinkedIn.
Correct.
Right? These are the two places where 90-95% of it happens.
Correct.
And these places, job boards and your LinkedIn, right, has a very structured way of fetching data.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Meaning they have filters,
Correct.
right? Required filters, location and other
Correct.
aspects, right? Current designation and all.
Correct.
So you have a structured indexing format,
Right.
number one. Number two, the data of how candidates present information, that is scattered.
Correct.
But each role you pick, there's a pattern in which how this data falls in, which can be categorized into 10 buckets or 20 buckets or even 100 buckets. But it can be categorized.
Correct.
Okay. So in this case, for each role, if you build data models once, for example, I do this, I build data models. For a role like DevOps engineer, I have built 140 search models.
Okay.
Which is nothing but unique searches, which is 140 unique searches. This gives me the data of entire DevOps engineers in India.
In all possible ways.
In all possible ways.
As a sourcer could do.
Exactly. This is a permutational model.
Okay.
Based on different permutations of how people will write.
Right.
Just for DevOps as a use case, right, as a role, I've written 140 searches.
Okay.
This took me 50 to 60 hours to write.
Got it.
But once I've done it, I'm done.
Done.
I need not write it ever again.
You just mentioned that for one role, you have written these cases for 50 hours, which is like 149 different
Searches.
search strings you have created.
Yeah.
And is that something that 149 recruiters' ideas, how they would have approached that?
Recruiters, the way they'll write it, right? You take one role, give it to 10 recruiters, right? They will write searches in a more similar manner.
Right.
Okay.
Mostly similar.
Similar manner,
Yeah.
right? And recruiters do not know how to write unique searches.
Correct.
You go ask any smart recruiter for a given JD, they might write 3-4 searches. But all these 3-4 searches will have overlapping data.
Correct.
They will not know how to write unique data sets. So when I said 140 odd searches, whatever I wrote, it's not a replica of 140 thought processes.
Okay.
Because all these 140 recruiters think in the same manner.
Same manner.
So recruiters are not equipped with the skill of data mining.
Data mining.
So what I do is my own research work, which I've been training recruiters of bring in big data concepts, where I break down one role into multiple buckets, like 140 buckets for DevOps role, right? And then each bucket is unique.
Yes.
Right. So that's my concept, is something which I've been training a recruiter on. So once you do that, what happens? I need not write a search ever again for DevOps.
For DevOps.
So I can do this for every other role.
Right.
So now if I do this, then sourcing is going to die.
Going to die.
right? Which is around roles which is heavily relying on Naukri and LinkedIn or any job board and LinkedIn, because that's where 90-95% of the hiring.
Yeah.
Where it cannot be automated, I'll tell you. It cannot be automated on leadership roles. It cannot be automated on niche roles wherein you have to go outside Naukri and any job board and LinkedIn and search on other platforms. You do internet sourcing because the structure and shape is not organized there.
It's like multiple things.
Multiple things, multiple platforms.
Right.
The way you index is varying.
Correct.
Right. Here what happens, job board or LinkedIn, the way you index is same.
Same.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way people will write can also be defined in certain manner, 140, 150. There's platforms you do not know.
Correct.
So that means you need to have some humans who will do it. So that's why I believe 70-80% can be easily automated. 20-30% as a skill it would exist, right? Just that 70-80% it could get automated.
Right. So when we talk about this, you just mentioned that as a skill, sourcing as a skill will definitely die or it will come down, right? We also see a lot of sourcing tools in the industry these days. What will happen to the skills of human where sourcing is a skill for them, and how AI is going to replace in these areas?
Okay, so I had written a post on LinkedIn long time back in terms of what combination of teams we need to be having. Okay, sourcing as a skill, yes, it would largely die. Again, I'm not saying 100% it's going to die. Majority is going to die. Right. What it could change is we would have to have analysts in the teams. When I say analysts, what do I mean? So these are analysts who are keeping a watch on the domain, right? They're keeping a watch on the biases, right? They're keeping a watch on how do I fine tune my machines.
Okay, for better sourcing.
Better sourcing, better inputs. They keep a watch. I call them analysts, right? So if you look at any machine learning or any models which are built, there are a lot of data analysts sitting out there feeding, tweaking data.
Right.
For the kind of hiring you guys do, right, which is more around staffing kind of hiring, right? He was asking, should I be buying LinkedIn kind of a platform?
Right.
I told him 90% of the times I don't think you would need it, right? And since he comes from a marketing background, your colleague whom I was talking to, I told him, when you do marketing, you define ICP, ideal customer persona.
Yes.
So for your organization, who is the ideal candidate persona for staffing? First and foremost, what is the definition? Let's not go to the skills. First definition is notice period.
Correct.
I need someone who will join within 15 days.
Within 15 days.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, salary.
Correct.
Right. So now this is the most primary thing for you, even before we talk about skills.
Correct.
Where do you have this information? You have it in job boards, in a click of a button.
Yeah.
Now, if you talk anything outside job board, how easy is this to access this information? It is very difficult. So then I told him the next important skill which recruiters need, right, which is a skill which AI cannot kill.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That skill is all about being human. What is it? It's about how do you strategically generate references from your candidate.
Great. Yes.
Today you ask any recruiter, do you do reference generation? Every recruiter will tell you yes.
I asked them, they said no.
We're talking about sourcing is on Naukri and other platforms, job boards. You know where is the biggest and the easiest sourcing?
Reference.
The 10 candidates you're talking to, they have 3-4 candidates around them who are like them.
Correct.
So when you're talking to 10 candidates, you have an opportunity to talk to 30 candidates. Who are like them.
Like
Salary, yes. Because this guy is at 10 lakhs. So even he will know people who are around that salary range.
Circle.
Because he's working in a similar kind of a company. Notice period might vary. Right. But you know, this is my ideal pool. When I'm talking to 10 candidates, there are 30 other.
Correct.
Out of which, what if maybe 1 or 2 are in notice?
Correct.
What if 1 or 2 are going to look out? There is a possibility. So we need to become more human and look at our conversations, which is more botish today.
Correct.
I generally say bot is trying to be more human these days than humans trying to be more human.
Correct.
Right? So if we can build that and see where we can leverage our skill of empathy, emotion, storytelling, all of these, that's where the future is. And recruiters who leverage these, you're trying to build tool is a very high level.
Correct.
Maybe less than 0.1% recruiters can
Small
do it.
dreams.
Huh,
Yeah.
right? But I'm giving them a scope
Yeah.
of what all you could do.
Yeah.
Right? 0.1%.
Yeah.
Why don't you make it 0.5?
Yeah.
If you start thinking on those lines
Correct.
of building tools, because that's the path I walked.
Correct.
Right, wherein I wanted to build tools. Okay, you're not walking that path, kind of difficult for you, that's fine. There's a next path. What is it? Just keep a watch on what are the tools out there in the market.
And make use of it. Yeah.
Make use of it and see which one is better. Go play around, right? And then come implement it in your respective organizations.
Correct.
Add that as a KPI on your resume.
Correct.
I implemented this tool
Saving
which
time.
brought in so much more money, revenue, and
In
it
short
saved
time.
so and so.
Correct.
And that way, what happens? You become a techno-functional guy.
Yeah. Not a traditional recruiter.
Not just a recruiter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There, your value becomes a lot more.
More.
And
Got it.
and just to add one more point, today recruiters keep struggling about, hey, 30% salary.
Correct.
Right? How do I get out of the 30% zone?
Correct.
Now, if you do these things,
Yeah.
you can go talk saying, look, this is the amount of cost I'm going to save.
Already
This is
saved.
the revenue I'm bringing in. This is
Right.
the time I'm reducing it.
Right.
Now I need 70% hike.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
validate it.
Yeah. Got it.
Recruiters they go and say, I need 50%. Why? Because my friend got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because I have so and so skills. I'm a social media recruiter. No one is bothered about KRAs. They're bothered about your KPIs.
Yes.
What KPIs do you bring on the table? What have you done in your previous organization? So with the amount of tech coming in, it is bringing so much opportunity for you, which you can just need to go explore it. You can be a builder, meaning you build some tools which is very easy to build, or at least leverage the tools which are out there in the market and bring an impact in an organization. That way you are not going to be a 30% recruiter anymore. You can go demand, I need 50%, 70% because I've done this. Right? So that's where I see AI bringing in a lot more opportunities. It's just that who's going to grab it.
Right. So a recruiter needs to understand the system. Obviously, they know what it is. So understand the challenges or maybe the improvement areas. Understand the technology and implement or use the technology for the required betterment. Marry them both and make an opportunity out of it.
Yeah, explore basically.
Explore.
Right. So they need to spend time to explore.
Got
so I always say this, if you want to grow in your career, probably date the company, love the role.
Love the role. Oh.
If you're not going to love the role, right, you're just doing it for the sake of it 9 to 6, and you're going to not really enjoy the role, trust me, you're not going to grow. If you start loving the role, you would love to talk about recruitment even after 6 o'clock.
Great.
Even on a weekend. Then your scope of growth can be a lot more faster.
Great. I really like those words. Date the company, love the role. It gives so much of vibe already, so that you're falling passionately, you're into that role rather than just working 8 hours.
Right.
So how to deal with bias in the AI?
See, whenever there's any new thing comes in, right, people say it has bias, this, that. Yes, it does have bias. Now, let's keep AI aside. Let's assume we are not using AI. As a human, don't you have bias? Don't I have bias?
Obviously, we do. Yeah.
We have unconscious bias. We have conscious bias.
Yes.
Right? And our unconscious bias, many times, we don't even know it.
Correct.
We don't even acknowledge it.
Correct.
Right? And sometimes we have conscious bias.
Correct.
Right? So that means even a machine is going to have it. So people who are going to kind of watch out what's happening, measure the biases.
Yeah.
Keep tweaking it.
Correct.
Right? Keep telling the machine, hey, look, here you are biased. Here you are. Right? Humans, we are not perfect, right? We have gaps and errors. Machine will also have it because it is built by humans.
Correct.
But can it get better? It can obviously get better.
Yeah.
The efficacy will remain same. So what is the best part about machines is, if you leave it to humans, someone can be a lot more biased. Maybe I can be a little more biased as a person than you, right?
Obvious.
You would maybe a little less biased person.
Obviously.
So now you train that machine over a period of time, then it is one algorithm.
Yeah, one consistent bias.
Yeah. So then the biasness also gets reduced, right?
Reduced.
The more you train, let's say
Tweak it.
today it is 50. I leave the organization, someone else comes in, they bring another bias.
Bias. True.
Right. So if you have someone who can look at what the AI does in terms of even resume screening or anything, keep a watch what kind of a biases which are happening and keep tweaking it. So that way you will have a better accuracy, and never ever we are going to reach 100% satisfaction, because humans can never be satisfied, and we are in a role which is HR where hitting 100% is impossible.
Correct.
So if anywhere we can hit 80-85%, I think machine is doing a fairly good job there.
So Ashfaq, one more question is like, there's an ocean of tech products for anything and everything. For HRMS, we have a lot of tools and we have a lot of tech products for all the verticals of the business. How to spot on which product is good for us?
Okay. Today in the market, if you see, there are obviously like tons of products out there, right? The fundamental thing, what I say is, you need to use it. And who needs to use it? The end user.
Right.
Unfortunately, what happens today, most of the products which are sold with the leadership.
Leadership.
So they have an amazing dashboard. They have an amazing story for the leaders. But what do they have for the end users? Do they have something? Not really. There's a gap. Now leader comes and they're like, hey, why people are not using it? Because the product was sold to you.
And it's not so effective for them.
Yeah. You are not the user.
Correct.
Right? You are just the visualizer.
Correct.
You're sitting there visualizing dashboards and action items.
Right.
The product was sold to you, and you got convinced based on whatever dashboards and whatever was shown, which is enticing for you as a leader.
Right.
But what is it for the end user?
End user.
So the first and foremost, I see a primary gap there, right? Because I have seen a lot of places where people end up buying the products and then they realize their teams are not using it, right? So the leadership, whatever the data they want to visualize, they can visualize only if the team uses it.
Correct.
Right. So the first and foremost is any product which comes in, yes, as a leader, you can figure out if this is useful or not useful, right? And once you've done it, ensure your end users use it. Get their feedback in terms of how flexible they are, right? Are they able to use it, not able to use it? What are the challenges they are facing? So that's the first and foremost check I would have for any tool which comes in, because many a times it is disconnected from the end users. The tools are sold to the leadership, and they get the wow factor because of the dashboards and others, but at the end people don't use it.
Got it. Great. So now we spoke about so much of AI and new skills that a recruiter needs to adapt, and changing trends in this recruitment cycle, right? And different experience-wise topics and everything. So if I have to ask you, what is the best advice that you have for the leaders or for the TA experts? What will be that?
Today, the best TA experts are those, or not just TA, any domain today. So it's about how do you balance tech and the human effect. Right? Since you are in the TA, are you keeping a watch around what are the tech tools coming in? How others are leveraging it?
On that.
Right? Go look at what's happening in some conferences. What are people who are similar to your persona? What is that they are leveraging? Right? And you should never shy away from experimenting. Right? Because tech tools, you can get a hang of it only if you experiment it.
Correct.
Right? And then how do you plug the human effect to it? When it comes to human effect, unfortunately, that is not measured much. So can you set up systems to measure human effects? Right? How well is your engagement happening by your recruiters? Are they equipped enough to engage? Right? If they are not equipped enough, why they are not equipped enough? Because culturally you need to hire different kinds of people to attain a certain kind of engagement.
Right.
Today what happens, every leader wants to ensure they have a good engagement.
Right.
But you end up hiring similar kinds of recruiters out there in the market.
Correct.
Because 90% of the recruiters are not fine-tuned to do good engagement. And I don't blame recruiters for that. Let me make this a very clear underlined statement. I don't blame recruiters for their lack of skills. I blame the industry. I blame the leaders. Because as an industry, as leaders, how much are we willing to spend on their upskilling?
Upskilling.
If you're not doing it, if you're not setting that ecosystem for them, don't complain. Right?
True.
So you need to set up that ecosystem, and how is that you're going to do it is what matters. And I always say you will not see impact when you have 15-20 people attending one webinar, one workshop.
It will not happen.
So they'll sit in a magic show, they'll come and say, wow, this is amazing. They'll get back to their table, they do what they will do.
Same routines.
Right? You want to change, give 5 people, right, to a consultant, trainer, whoever, right, you're shortlisting, and then see if there's a change. Right?
Yes.
So you need to give them in small buckets. So
Right.
like I used to do a lot of 1-day workshops, 2-day workshops. I don't do that anymore. Or maybe I do it very less. These days I run a 3 months mini diploma program, which is a 50 hours. The reason why I came up with this program is to ensure whatever I'm teaching, people are able to implement it over a period of time. Because you cannot expect change to happen in 1 day or 2
Immediately.
days. Right? And I have done a lot of 1-day, 2-day workshops wherein people come, they feel like they clap hands, they're like, wow, this is amazing, good. They go back, they're not able to implement.
Right.
Right? So now I see when in long duration sessions, what happens? The number of people who complete the program will be less. Because you need to be steadfast.
Correct.
In 1-day programs, what happens? All 15 have to be there because it's a 1-day program.
Correct.
At the end, who implements? No one implements.
Nobody. Yeah.
But in a 3 months program, let's say there are 15 people, 5 people will remain till the end. And trust me, these 5 people will go implement.
Correct.
At least in the 3 months, they would have carried away 2-3 concepts which they'll go and implement.
Right.
But in a 1-day workshop, nothing is happening.
Nothing's happening.
So as leaders, we need to, one is the tool side, wherein we need to look at, keep a watch of what kind of tools and where do I plug in. And that also you need to have a more of a design thinking model, wherein this is the flow of my TA. Where do I spend the most time? Where is my efficacy gets hit? And what tools I need around that. Right? So once you put that out, you'll have a lot more clarity. Right? Number one. Number two, building human capabilities with whatever I just mentioned. If leaders can focus on these two, I think, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashfaq. We'll have a quick rapid fire. I have some questions for you, so which you have to answer in a minute.
Sure.
Right? So, which is your favorite tech tool at the moment?
At the moment, Big Shift is a platform which is owned by Naukri.
Okay.
That's my favorite tool. They are a sourcing platform, but the way they are looking to solve sourcing is very much closer to the way I would like to solve it.
Okay.
And I was blown away when I have seen that product. I have seen so many tech sourcing tool products so far, and I didn't like any of them because most of the sourcing tools, they buy large amount of data of LinkedIn from a lot of data providers. They apply machine learning on top of it and they give it to recruiters. So as a recruiter, you have to put your search and everything and then get it. They are nothing but a search layer on top of LinkedIn data.
Got it.
But what Big Shift has done is totally amazing. They're focusing on a small chunk of data and they have recruiters in their background who do validation of that data by reaching out to these candidates.
Great, huh?
And then add context to that data. So they are amazing as a platform because they're adding context. Rest of the tools are just data tools.
Data tools.
I generally say in the era of AI, right, we say data is a gold mine. I say data is just a mine, context is gold.
Gold. Great.
Most of the tools are going behind data, but they're not going behind context. Big Shift is making a difference by focusing on context. So that's why I really like them as a tool.
Great. So how should recruiters build personal brand?
In the era of AI, I think if recruiters have to focus on something, then it has to be on their personal branding. Right? So one of the ways how you could build personal brand today is just go out, start writing.
Great.
Today people are like, recruiters are afraid what to write, how to write.
Yeah.
I generally say recruiters have the best and the most of the stories. Why? Because in a given month, you talk with at least 70, 80 candidates.
Yeah, you read so many profiles.
You read so many resumes.
Yes.
Right? You might have found a funny name of a candidate.
Correct.
That's a story.
Correct.
Right? You must have read a resume. Right? That day I read a resume of a candidate who by mistake uploaded a code document.
Okay.
That's a story, right? I'm not a recruiter. I did it for some purpose, right? I don't source as how recruiters do it.
Right.
So as a recruiter, you have so many stories.
Right.
You talk to 80, 90 candidates in a month. There can be some stories. You talk to hiring managers. There can be stories, right? You have stories of recruiters giving you reasons why they are not attending interview.
Correct.
My dog fell sick. My so-and-so passed away or whatever, right? So there is so much stories around you.
Right.
There's so much experiences around you, and you would have created an impact. Let's say now there are a lot of good recruiters in every organization who win a lot of quarterly awards and all.
Correct.
So they are winning for a reason, right? They would have done something.
Yeah.
Talk. How did you do it?
Yeah.
So you have so many stories. You start with that first and come out of your inhibition, right? There's so much enough stories. You start with that and slowly you will find your way. So that's I think the stepping stone for recruiters
Personal
to
brand.
start their personal brand.
Great. How do you write content every day on LinkedIn so that it is more effective, it is more attractive, and somebody who's reading it feels like, okay, what's next blog from Ashfaq?
Okay, in my case, I would not want recruiters to compare with me in terms of writing content, because my case is fairly different. Because when people ask me where did I get trained from, I tell people I've had 10,000 odd trainers for me. Meaning those many people have trained.
You have trained, you have learned indeed from them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So why recruiters should not look forward to me the way I write content is because I don't really write content. Since I train recruiters every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I do 4 to 5 sessions talking to at least 80 recruiters. So that means every weekend I have enough stories, enough Q&A problem statements about recruitment. That becomes my content for the week. So I need not spend extra time for content creation per se. So that's where I'm not the right comparison, because I'm blessed by being a trainer in a way. And I'm thankful to the recruiters out there, whoever come forward and puts questions.
Right.
That's a story to me.
Correct. Great. So how can recruiters improve storytelling skills?
Yeah, storytelling is $1 million skill, right? And if you look at today, even leadership folks, VP, CXOs, are spending money to learn storytelling.
Correct.
Right. On a lighter note, if I have to tell you how to figure out storytelling, I would tell you watch stand-up comedies. Right. Watch different styles of how stand-up comedians are going about. I once saw Comic Stan, which is something I think was there in Amazon Prime or Netflix, I don't know. It was about budding stand-up comedians who came and they were given on-spot topics to come up with.
Okay.
So there you can see how they are coming up with their observational skills. They have to make a comedy on their water bottle, right? And they'll do it sponto. So there you can think at their thinking style of how they are coming up with a quick story or a narration.
That's important, yeah.
Right? So once you start knowing it, what will happen? By the way, I need to tell that storytelling is not faking. Okay.
Correct.
So why you need to observe this? Because there is so much stories happens around you. It is just that we don't know how to grasp it and put it out.
Correct.
By watching these things, you will know that how these stand-up comedians are having such strong observational skills. And that's the foundation for storytelling. So that's how I think recruiters need to build it. I think watch stand-up comedians or watch anyone who is a good observer and is able to come up with things quickly, because that's the skill you need in storytelling.
Great. So what are some skills of a good TA leader?
Okay, let me be specific here of TA leaders mostly in the corporates, right, where they have to deal with business and stuff. I would say best TA leader is someone who knows how to balance the business and their teams. Because unfortunately, in our industry, a good majority of leaders do not know how to set expectations with their businesses. They do not know how to go back and convince their businesses. Rather, they just say yes to everything from the leader and use their team as punching bags.
Correct.
That's a very unfortunate. So for me, a best leader is someone who can balance the business and the team and go talk to the business saying, see, they need to stand for their team.
Right.
Right, and maintain that right balance. So any leader who can do that, according to me, is has pretty good skill as a leader to balance that act between the business and the team.
Great. I think this is going to be a never-ending topic to discuss with you, Ashfaq, because you are like idea box where like you have so much of insights, which is definitely needed information for the recruiters who are having challenges with today's technology and today's challenges. And yes, of course, with multiple technology jargons coming into picture, we expect recruiters to have to know all the technology, where developers themselves will not know how many technologies are in the world, but we expect the recruiters to know the latest version of particular skills and know everything on the technology. In this era of this recruitment world, I think your insights are very, very valuable, and we'll continue to have another topic which is again a booming one in the industry, and we'll connect back with you again. Thank you so much, Ashfaq.
Thanks a lot, Divya, for having me. It was a pleasure connecting with you for this podcast. Right? Thanks
you.
a lot. Yeah.